So before we go back and finish looking at the eye, I want to show you something in a more fundamental setting so that you don't get confused by the complexity of the eye. So to begin with, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab my oval shape tool. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a shape like so. And then I'm going to change my fill color to something different, say maybe orange. And I'm going to grab our rectangle shape tool. And I'm going to go ahead and just make a rectangular shape like so. Now I could have as many shapes as I want to for this exercise, but for right now, just keeping it simple and focusing on two shapes is probably the best thing to do. So what I want to do now is I want to blend these two shapes together, and there's a function for that in Coreal Painter. So what I want to do is I want to hold down Shift and select both of these layers so that they're active. And then I want to go up to Shapes, Blend. Now, by default, you're going to start with 10 is what you're going to see. But I want you to go ahead and set it for something low like 5 for right now. And then we're going to hit OK. What you're going to see is it's going to blend these two shapes together. And you'll see that this creates what's known as a blend group. And the blend group is going to have 5 shapes in it because that's how many steps we set. And if we drag this down between these two shapes, you'll see that these now take on the appropriate orientation in terms of this being the bottom, this being the middle, and this being the top. So that's basically blending. Let's go ahead and take a look if we were to increase the number of steps, what would happen. So again, I'll just go ahead and shift select both those, go to Shapes, Blend, and we'll set it back up to something like 30. Hit OK. And now you see that we end up with something that's a lot more like a gradient. And again, just grab this and drag it between the two, and now you're seeing it the way that it's supposed to be. So that's basically blending. Let's go ahead and close that out. File, Open. In the work files, you'll find for Chapter 7, I, Part 5. Now, I've done some work on this. Basically, I've given all of the shapes anatomical names, and I've done work on the various different parts just to take it to its logical conclusion, meaning I showed you how to do the cutting and then reassembling the points with the eye. So I just did that over here with the caruncle. And the caruncle is just that little fleshy bit in the corner of the eye. The other thing that I've done here, which you may not be familiar with, and I'll just go ahead and grab our oval tool for this, is that if I hold down Shift and pull out a perfect circle, and then I go ahead and I just duplicate that layer and grab the one that's underneath, double click it, and give it a stroke. And 3 will be fine for this, and just hit OK. You'll see that we have this even stroke around it, and the reason why is because we have this one yellow object in front of the yellow object behind it with a stroke. Well, if we take that foreground object or the background object, doesn't matter, and use the layer adjuster and either nudge it up or down, you'll see that we end up with very interesting line weight variation due to the way that the objects are stacked on top of each other, and they're not 100% even to one another, so you end up with these interesting variations. Well, that's exactly what I did here with around the iris and also around, as you can see here, the sclera. So we have the sclera, then we have the sclera outline, which is just another copy of that shape behind it with a black stroke. And then the iris and the iris outline, which again is just the iris with a black stroke. So basically, that's how that works. Now, in addition to that, and I'll just go up here and delete these so that we don't get confused about what these yellow ovals are in our stack. You can see that we've also put in the shine, and I've also got some hidden shines here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all these hidden ones on. And basically what you're going to see is that we have ready to go circles that are set up and ready to go for blends. So we're going to go ahead and blend all of these so that we get a more three-dimensional look to this very 2D looking vector graphic currently. But once we have blends in there, it'll be a lot more interesting. So first things first, we'll go over here and we'll just unlock the caruncle and the caruncle lighting and shift select both of those. Come up here to shapes and say blend, and we'll just leave it at 30. The idea here with spacing is that you can control the different ways that the spacing is going to occur between the 30 steps. But equal tends to work best. Color is basically RGB, which is typically what you want, or you can go hue clockwise or hue counterclockwise. Perspective factor is basically just a variation on this decrease and increase. And arc length matching and align shape start points are basically things that you're always going to want to have on. So I just say leave everything here and just change the number of steps to whatever it is you need. Hit OK. And then if we come up here to our blend group, which was just created, and drag it down between the caruncle lighting and the caruncle, you'll see how that was supposed to look. Now I'll just go ahead and move up to our sclera and our sclera lighting, and I'll just go ahead and shift select both those. go to Shapes, Blend. Again, leave it at 30. Hit OK. And again, come up here to our blend group that was just created. And drop that in between, like so. And then we'll come up to our iris lighting, like so. Shift select both those, go down to Shapes Blend, and again, use 30. Come up here to the top, grab our blend group, drag it into the appropriate place. And now you can see that we have what looks to be a very interesting illustrative style, which looks like we've done some sort of airbrushing work or some gradient fills, but really we've done it all with vector artwork. Now, the thing that you want to do here when you're doing something complex like this is you want to, at the end, go ahead and unlock all of your layers, like so. And then go up here and just do a select all layers, since we have everything going. And then just come here and, obviously, let's come back here and shift. There we go. Let's try that. There we go. Group layers. Had to shift select them. But now they're all grouped, and that group can be locked, like so. So now we have a more manageable layer stack, because as you can see, we have quite a lot of layers in here, and then each blend group also has many layers within it. So generally speaking, once you're finished with doing a complex vector object like this, just set it up as a group, lock the group, and then you can move on to doing whatever else you need to do. Now, the nice thing with these vector objects is that they don't take up hardly any file size. So even though there's a lot of shapes in here, they're really not all that heavy in terms of file size. I mean, generally speaking, these things print fast, they show on screen really well, and of course, like I said before, when it comes to vector artwork, if we just put our focus on the artwork here and zoom in, you'll see, I mean, this stuff, when you zoom in on it, it's razor sharp, it's crystal clear. Whereas that drawing that was in the background, you can see how blurry it is and everything. So this is a really great way of getting a nice, crisp, illustrative style in Coreal Painter 12.